Welcome to the Leap to Launch. Here we uncover the unvarnished truth of starting up. We delve into the real stories of business and creation. Hear from those who've soared, stumbled, and are still climbing. They share their raw, unfiltered truths of their entrepreneurial journeys. It's a deep dive into trials and the relentless hustle behind the scenes. For dreamers, doers, and anyone in between, this is where ambitions come to life and reality meets a dream. I'm Siddharth Kumar.
I'm Sagarika Babu.
This episode's guest is someone who I've known for over 20 years and has had an amazing journey. I've had the privilege of watching him blossom from the sidelines through all his trials and tribulations. Meet Kailash Nichani. Kailash is the founder of Topee. Topee is a startup offering cosmetic, personalized, and reliable hair restoration solutions with transparent pricing and friendly service. Kailash has had an interesting journey from a second-generation entrepreneur to founding a pioneering D2C e-com startup to now founding Topee. Kailash, welcome to the Leap to Launch.
Thanks. Good to be here.
So, what is Topee?
Topee is a take on fighting for baldness. Bald people have too many issues given that it's a taboo in the country. So, typically, you'd want to first try and save your hair. If that doesn't work, then you'd figure out if you could do a transplant. If that doesn't work for cost or fear reasons, people have no other choice. So, Topee basically comes in at that point where we offer a cosmetic solution, which is what we call a hair system for men, or hair toppers and hair extensions for women. And those can be applied using adhesives or clips. And the hair that we use is 100% natural human hair. So when that's kept on your scalp and when it's cut and blended to your own hairstyle, nobody can ever tell that you're wearing something on your head. It's super natural. And the problem is that not a lot of people know that this is the output we can achieve. And given that it's a taboo, it's not sold the right way in the country. So it's an underrepresented product.
But this is a big common problem, right? Like, from what I understand, I think male pattern baldness, I think it's what it's called. I think that affects more than 50% of men?
Yeah, 1 in 7 individuals in the country suffer from baldness at this point in time.
Oh, wow. And are these genetic conditions? Are these diseases? What are they?
So, male pattern baldness is generally genetic. I can't really pinpoint the reason because there are a lot of cases where my clients have no hair, but their dads or their brothers have a head full of hair. The medical condition is alopecia. So, that's when somebody can't grow hair. That's a different condition, but all put together, it is a large problem.
And what are the current treatment options people are available? Because I am aware of minoxidil.
Yeah.
And a few other chemical options that people use, which is incorporated into their shampoos and their serums and whatnot.
Yeah.
What's wrong with these treatments, and why don't people use these rather than, say, for example, go with your solution?
Yeah. So the way I look at it is when somebody starts balding, they want to prevent it. So they take a lot of preventive measures, and minoxidil is one of them. Apart from that, there are also a group of people called trichologists who basically help with providing various solutions. Some call it a pseudoscience. And
why is that?
They may or may not work most of the time. If you see, if there are 100 people who go through those treatments, we're not really sure how many of them would come out on the other side successfully not being bald.
Because there are a whole wide range. There is Ayurvedic, there's allopathic. I mean, there's an X number of, you go online, you can search for 1 million ads. In fact, a lot of the ads that I see on my mobile phone when I use these free apps, when I'm too cheap to pay for those apps, I see a lot of these ads saying hair treatment, hair loss, and whatever. And the ads are all standard. Just a before and an after picture. There's no way you can prove that the product being used is actually theirs.
Yeah.
Or it could be just someone photoshopping it and whatever.
Yeah.
And these are so common.
Yeah.
So, it is a pseudoscience, right?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of what these people are doing.
Yeah. So, I think in the internet era, at least there is some sort of exposure, given to a brand by somebody who's unhappy with their treatments, because on social media, you could find a lot of reviews. But given that this is a taboo, still a lot of people, if they're unhappy and if they haven't got a solution, they would not want to go and tarnish a brand's name because their name comes out in the open that they've tried doing something for baldness.
I find it very interesting that you use the word taboo because while I think, unfortunately, it is acceptable for men to be bald, for women it's not.
Yeah.
So is that a big market for you as well?
Yeah, I think the women market's really huge. Exactly the reason that you said. So, but women have interesting solutions. Like you have hair toppers for somebody who's just got a balding patch on their scalp and they want to cover it up. You also have hair extensions for somebody who wants volume. And then you have the full wigs for somebody who really has a lot of baldness, like somebody who's going through cancer, for example, chemotherapy, and they've lost hair. So they really have no choice. And in that case, I have a lot of women clients who come with very low self-esteem at that point because they've lost a part of their personality. And I'm really happy to work with them to get them back to that space of confidence by getting back their own hair.
Do you see a big change, not just in terms of how you perceive them or how you see them, but in terms of how you perceive their confidence before and after?
Yeah, you can see it literally as soon as they wear their product, and once it's set in place, their smile, their loved ones, their husbands, whoever's come with them, they're smiling year to year, and they can't believe it that this has really worked for them. Because I feel like this industry is driven on hope. A guy going in trying to prevent baldness hopes that it works, but he comes out 6, 8, 12 months later. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, and if it doesn't work, you're really disappointed. And then obviously people who love you around you would also want you to not be bald, but then they're also disappointed. So I think it's a big problem statement, and given that I've been able to get my clients from that point to a point of confidence, I've heard that from them. I've seen that in their loved ones.
Yeah, fantastic. No, it's a great thing that you're doing. I think it's very important to make people happy and to make people confident to live their lives. It will be sad that for someone not having hair, that they are not leading their full lives because of the lack of confidence that it brings them.
Yeah, and that happens.
Yeah, and it happens. It's a real problem.
Yeah.
It's something I know of a person who works with me who had her hair transplant, I think.
Right.
I don't know if his treatment was the same as yours. I mean, that man was a 180-degree change.
Yeah.
Like before, he was a meek guy, etc. Now he's a solid guy.
Yeah, you can see the confidence. Hair transplant's a little bit different from what we do. That's a surgical process.
Fair enough.
But if the guy is happy with his output, it really enhances. Like I've literally had clients tell me that I would kill myself if I was to see myself bald again.
Really?
Yeah, it is. It's really it's crazy.
Oh, wow.
Their self-perception changes, and I think that they project to the world. And obviously, then when you project yourself a certain way, people perceive you to be a certain way, and that has a big impact. Hair has a big impact.
Fantastic. So now, obviously, hair is a problem.
Yeah.
And there are many solutions, right? Ranging from the pseudoscience to minoxidil.
Yeah.
To
surgical processes.
To what you are offering.
Yeah.
Why you're offering?
So this would work well for somebody who doesn't want to go through who's first of all been disappointed because he's not got his hair back.
Mm-hmm.
Second of all, he may or may not have gone through a hair transplant, because there are a lot of clients of mine who have gone through a hair transplant, but their hair's fallen once again. And there are also a lot of people who are very skeptical of undergoing surgery in this country. So these are the kind of people who generally look at our product as a last resort, and I think this product is perfect for them.
Right. Fantastic. And take me through your product. From what I understand, it's a service and not a product, or is it both?
It's both. It starts off by selling a good product, but then the product does require service. So Topee basically has hair systems for men, like I said, and they also have hair toppers for women. The women products are mostly DIY. So if we talk about the men products, they're also known as hair patches. So let's assume somebody has baldness for whatever reason. Now everybody's balding size varies in size. So these hair patches actually come in different sizes. They also have different materials. But essentially the way you'd use this product is you would fix it on your scalp using adhesives like double-sided tape or glue, which is the tapes and glues have been specifically made for hair systems. So they're very skin safe, they're durable, nothing would happen to you. And once they're stuck on your scalp, the hair systems actually come with about 6 inches hair length by default, because we need that for the manufacturing. Once that's done, we then cut and style it. And once that's the cutting and styling is done, it literally looks like your own hair.
Oh, wow. So a person can go swimming?
Yeah, there are no restrictions. A lot of people think that they can't do a lot in life when they wear a hair system, but that's not true. There literally are no restrictions. You can ride a bike with a helmet. You can ride it without a helmet. You can literally drive at 100 kilometers per hour and the system would not come off. You can swim with it. You shower with it. You sleep with it. There's literally nothing that you can't do.
And how long does the system last?
So, given that this is a cosmetic product and it's made with fabric kind of materials with 100% natural human hair, they all have lives. Every hair system typically has a life between 6 to 12 months. That's what we advertise. But we've seen a lot of clients use it even longer. It all comes down to your lifestyle, to your maintenance. That's about it.
Fantastic. And if our esteemed listeners want to avail of your service or your product, how do they get in touch with you?
So we have a store in Bangalore, which is just off Old Airport Road, near Diamond District, which is also near Karnataka Golf Association Club. So that's pretty easy. That's the best way. If they could come and experience the products in person, they could speak to hair experts, they could get a lot of their questions answered and try a lot of things before they decide to buy. Or we also have online presence. There is a decent amount of information about our products on our website, and we have Instagram and YouTube on our videos. A lot of those videos are there, like our client transformation videos, feedback, product advertising. Yeah, and they can also get in touch with us on call or WhatsApp.
Fantastic. We'll link your website and your Instagram handle in the show notes so that our listeners can get in touch with you.
Yep, sounds like a plan.
Fantastic. So who's the man behind Topee?
That would be me. This was conceptualized about 7-8 months ago. I just quit my job and I was figuring out what to do next. I knew I wanted to start something, but I wanted to start something impactful. And I wanted to sort of represent an industry that's not been represented well. And that's when I looked at baldness, because as I was researching on different industries, the baldness industry caught my eye because I knew somebody who was bald and I sort of understood their journey. And that's when, after I started the business, I understood. I've literally spoken to 1,000 customers. I'm not kidding. I've spoken to 1,000 people.
1,000 people?
Yeah, I have, across the country. Because
what was your phone bill like?
Free plan. Unlimited calls. Yeah, that's the best part. Go Geo. So I spoke to them, and I typically understood a pattern. Of somebody asking me questions, they would first ask. So there was inherent. I'm digressing. Let me go in order. So I figured out this industry because I knew somebody who went through this problem and this process, and I figured that he had pain points along the way. He first tried to save his hair, then he figured if he could do a transplant. He did a transplant, and then he again sort of lost his hair, and then finally, as a last resort, he put this on. And obviously, I think about this particular product, I have seen a lot of people wearing it. It's easily identifiable on a lot of people because it's not been cut and styled the right way. So then I said, okay, maybe let me run a few landing page experiments. This was one of them. I created a single landing page experiment where I said, look, you can go from bald to not bald, and this is the product. We're hair experts. If you're interested, sign up. Very simple. I ran a Facebook ad, ran a few Instagram ads. I think I got my first 100 clients across the country because my initial thought was I could sell this online. But then when I started speaking to people, they were all about, hey, what is your product like? They would hear me speak about it. I self-taught myself on how the product works, pricing, supply chain, those kind of things. And when they heard everything, they heard the pitch, they said, look, sounds good. Where are you located? And that was the common question I was getting from literally every single client. If I told somebody that you could buy it online, we have 30-day returns, no questions asked, you can cut your hair and send it back if you want. Nobody was comfortable doing that. So I realized that they wanted touch and feel. Given that the country is a low trust country, they wanted to come stand inside a space where they can get a feel of the brand, get a feel of the people who are behind the scenes and the product obviously, and then they would buy. So that's what led me to shrink my experiment down to just Bangalore. And then again, I got the similar kind of questions, and that's when I decided to open up a retail space.
I find all what you told me about Topee so fascinating because I have known you for 20 years now. You were role number 205, I was role number 247.
Yep.
Did I get 205 correct?
Absolutely right.
Oh wow.
050 205.
050. That used to, you know what? My Wi-Fi password even today is 050 247.
Oh my God.
Even today.
Wow.
Yeah, because we checked the roll number so many times for attendance.
Yeah.
I can't ever forget that number.
Yeah.
So we've known each other.
And
exam results. Yeah. I never bothered checking those.
You didn't have to.
No, that's true. Slander.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've known you for so long, and because I know your entire journey. I've seen you started off at Kapleshwar, which was a second generation leading optician in Chennai, and then you're here. I mean, wow. I mean, so you started off at Kapleshwar.
Yeah.
Joined a family business, second generation entrepreneur, which is very different from being a first generation entrepreneur.
Yeah.
There you're actually inheriting a legacy and taking it forward. There are a lot of transition related issues there.
Yeah.
Whereas, and then you moved from Kapleshwar Opticals to founding one of India's leading D2C startups. I mean, the entire story of Glassic.
Yeah.
So how did that happen? That was your first leap, right?
Yeah. It definitely was. I think that's the right way to call it. It was a leap. I was in the family business for 6 years, and I think I always had this itch of doing something big with my life. I still haven't achieved it.
What are you saying?
It's a
You're on this podcast. That obviously means you're successful.
It's a work in progress still. But thank you. No, so what happened was, I think 6 years into the business, we opened up a few more stores. At that point, it was a 35-year-old business. We were in one location, so it was kind of like a destination eyewear. And I thought there was this, we had this recipe for expansion, because I assumed if people were, coming to us, we should now go to them. Obviously, fragmentation happens. Each area in the city becomes self-sustaining. So I felt we were missing out and leaving money on the table. But then we first expanded into a second location, and that didn't go so well. And we were about to open a third one.
So this was the Kilpauk store, or this was the...
This was the Adyar store.
The Adyar store.
Yeah. So I realized it's not as easy. Just because you're booming in one location doesn't mean that the brand recall happens automatically across the city.
You're right.
So then I figured that maybe we should also be present online. This was way back when I was 20, 22, very naive thoughts. And I thought if we had an e-commerce store, customers would flock the website, we would get sales, not understanding something called this average order value, touch and feel. I didn't know any of that. So I just said it'll be really cool if we had a website, started building it out, got duped a lot.
But this was Classic or Kapleshwar?
This was all Kapleshwar.
All Kapleshwar.
Yeah. So the reason I'm saying all this is because while I was doing all this, 6 years had passed. We opened a second store. We went online. We started an e-commerce website. This is back when nobody had a website, at least in this industry, optical industry.
Absolutely.
And then I realized that it's going to be a very hard battle, a very high capital intensive battle if we had to take this brand to different locations, have them on e-commerce storefronts. Also, by then I was ambitious enough, thinking I would raise money, and then I started questioning if this business model would make sense for a VC to come in, given it was a family business. So there are a lot of questions, and also then because I was in the industry, I saw a lot of competition, and I saw what was happening out in the West, and I was really inspired by Warby Parker. So
this is the US-based eyewear e-commerce.
They're a phenomenal brand. They're a public company now. They've executed amazingly. Started by 4 college students, and they took on Luxottica and how. So I saw their success, and I said, maybe it's time India also needs a brand like this, given that India is a price-conscious country. And that's when I also realized.
So remind me, I think Warby Parker is great designs, affordable price, completely online.
$95 is what they started off with for a pair of glasses. Whereas at that point, a single pair of glasses, if you go and buy a frame and a lens, would be at least $300, $400, $500. So there was a big price difference, and the quality was the same, pretty much. So I figured that India, being a price-conscious country, should also deserve a brand such as this. And I took the idea from Warby Parker, and I thought maybe it would make sense to start a brand here. And that's how we came up with the name Glassic, because we were trying to sell classic glasses online, something that's evergreen, that would always be sold, like an Aviator or a Wayfarer or a Clubmaster.
What a great name.
Yeah,
Do you still have it?
Yeah, we have the trademark.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Interestingly, I thought of it while walking to McDonald's to get an ice cream. I still remember that from my house. But yeah. So I said, okay, let me look at this part of the industry. We were working with Luxottica at that time. As a retailer, you don't look outside of the industry and take a bird's eye view as an understanding. You're very sheltered in your own life. You've got a very sort of, how a horse is blinded by that while he's running. That's the kind of view you have. And when I started looking at trying to build a brand is when I actually started researching and looking outside the box that I was in. And that's when I realized that actually Luxottica has got a stronghold across the world. And I thought that it's a time in India. India's market was very small compared to the US. So I said maybe now it's a great time to start a brand before Luxottica gets a much stronger hold across the country. And
Devesh joined you.
Yeah, and my brother joined me. He was at Google at the time. He was also itching to do something bigger. And he moved back. And then we started the brand from Chennai, and we were building it out. And then we figured maybe we should move to Bangalore. And the ecosystem is a lot more vibrant here in terms of, accepting a new brand. Or maybe even raising money. So we just said, and also the talent, we said maybe it makes a lot of sense to move here. We did move here in 2015. We launched the website. We bootstrapped it till 2017. We hit
2 years completely with no money?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's fabulous.
Yeah.
So that means you were unit economic positive.
We were
from the beginning.
Yeah, we were.
At a time when nobody bothered about unit economics.
Yeah. That's the thing that, when you come from a family business background, you're always trained to look at making money. You don't think of losing money. And there was no reason to, because eyewear generally has healthy margins. So there was really no reason to do this.
Even discounted eyewear?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Because I think what happens with discounted eyewear is you source differently. You source cheaper products, but then you would mark it up the same way, and then you would give a discount, but you're making money eventually.
Fantastic. So you and Devesh moved in here, started Glassic in a well, not an unfamiliar city, but still it's not home.
Yeah.
And you started Glassic from scratch. You raised money.
Yeah, we did. We raised money in 2017. We got rejected by I think 50 VCs.
50 VCs.
Yeah, I'm not kidding. We literally met everyone, and we got the usual VC answer. And this was at a time where we bootstrapped our way to an ARR of 3 crores.
Wow.
Yeah. So a lot of VCs were interested because at that point they were like, look, you guys seem great. You'll have a good background. You have industry experience. You bootstrapped it to this level. Biggest reason also is that there's Lenskart and then there's blank. There is literally nobody else. So there was a lot of excitement, but there were
evil Lenskart.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, yeah. But now you look at it and you say, okay, better execution, maybe. Yeah.
Fair enough. That's very gracious of you to say that.
You got to learn your mistakes, right? Otherwise, what's the point? You're doomed to commit them again.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's what happened, and then I think eventually we were lucky enough to meet with Mithun Sacheti of the Carrot Lane co-founder. So, and we were also excited because he built the brand by then, and he's been there, done that, and he raised money from Tiger Global and Titan, and it was amazing. So we met him, and he agreed, and he pulled in a lot of investors. So we got a few angels to invest in us, 3 different angel groups. And we said, we have somebody like Mithun who's going to really help us, advise us along the way. So that was great. We raised it in 2017 and ran the business for a little longer. But then somewhere in 2018, 2019, we started seeing cracks in our business model because while we wanted to build an affordable eyewear brand, we ended up pricing wrong. We started pricing it at 2,499 for a pair of sunglasses, which we thought was cheap because when I came, my mental model was from the retail world, and the average order value in a retail store like ours was at least 10,000. So I said, great, if I start pricing this at 2,499 and I sell across the country, there will be takers, and there were takers, but we miscalculated the perception of price, and we ended up selling to the top 3% of India. So similar audience to Kapleshwar, but we got wider reach because of e-commerce. And then we said, 5 years into building this brand, we saw 2 ways. Either we, stay on and build the brand the same way and grow organically as the market expands, or we also started experimenting with price ranges of 1,499, 1,999, 999, and that wasn't very exciting for us. When we introduced the 999 price range, some of our customers came back and said, dude, what is this? We're not used to this. This is not Classic. And that disappointed us. So then we said, if we even toyed with think of starting a sub-brand, but then we spent 5 years building brand 1, who's going to spend another 5-10 years building brand 2, brand 3? So
at what point did you decide that it's no longer worth it?
This was, I think, in December 2018.
Oh, wow. But wasn't that shortly after Sheryl Sandberg featured you guys?
Yeah, she featured us for a different reason. We were we started using WhatsApp because we realized, this was before WhatsApp for Business. So we realized that our client base is on WhatsApp. And the reason we realized this was just doing business. So we had customer service representatives, and they were trained to, let's say there's somebody who adds something to cart, and then they drop off. So we have some information of this. So we would call them and we'd ask them, hey, what? So we would try to optimize the bottom of the funnel. But then if they didn't answer us, I think I randomly just sent a message on WhatsApp because I found a client once and I said, hey, we're from Glassic, and we saw you try to add this to cart. Did you have a problem? Can we help you in any way? And we got a lot of responses. So organically we started using WhatsApp and realized there's a big client base there, and the response time was much faster than an SMS or a call.
So you were the pioneers of WhatsApp retargeting?
Inadvertently.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And you're getting this traction.
Yeah.
This superstar startup COO of Facebook features you on her Facebook profile.
Yeah, she did.
Saying that, hey, these 2 boys in Bangalore doing
India,
this amazing job.
Yeah.
And then you decide to shut down a few months after?
Yeah, that was for a different reason, because we were using WhatsApp really well, and I think also when WhatsApp for Business came on, we were one of the, I think we were given early access to use some features only because we were using it already. And I think my brother knew somebody in Facebook who sort of helped us out with getting on board early on. We were also keen to explore the features because it was working for us. Right. So I think that was more of an advertisement for WhatsApp for Business, saying, hey, look, if these guys can do it, so can you.
It's very interesting that you didn't confuse that traction
Yeah.
with business traction. A lot of entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
they see their name in the newspaper. They're like, oh, I'm doing good. Even the business must be sinking.
Yeah.
But they're like, oh, I'm in the papers. I'm going to plow through. But it's very, very incredible that you didn't confuse both those tractions.
No, I didn't at that point, but I'm guilty of doing exactly what you said as well. Where I did think that if I have media presence and if the newspapers are talking about us, that means we're doing really well. And I think we used to go out and seek exposure this way. But yeah, those are things that you learn along the way, man.
Fantastic. And then at what point did you decide that Glassic you needed to move on from Glassic?
So we decided to shut it down in Jan 2019. We broke the news to the team and we handled it well. We gave them severance packages and we explained the situation to them, and nobody was unhappy. And we were pretty good in retention of employees as well. We had people who worked with us for 3 years, 5 years. I mean, 5 years means the entire time that we were around. So it was good. It was good, and they understood it. And we sort of just said sorry. We should have done better. But here's the severance, and we wish you best for wherever you go next. And if you want a reference, if you want a letter, happy to give it to you.
No, fantastic. No, I know that because when we spoke, when you were closing Glassic, in fact, I did get in touch with one of your former employees, and we started working with him. And he didn't have anything bad to say.
Right, that's good to know.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So, from Glassic, you decided to move on to employment.
Yeah.
How did that happen? Now that's another leap.
Yeah,
that's a dangerous leap.
To be honest, I think as I was 10 years in self-employed.
You were done?
No, I wasn't done. I don't think you can ever be done if once you start something of your own, right? And I think saying done is saying that I give up. And I'm not the type to do that. But I learned a lot along the way about myself. And maybe I realized that I had too many biases in my mind about how a business would pick up. Like if you were giving me a situation to evaluate, critical thinking was not my strong suit. And I realized that when you close a business, it hurts. And when it hurts, you need to introspect. And that's what I did. I introspected a lot, and I was looking for a job partly also because I needed the money. And I also said that, 10 years I've been on my own. What is my understanding of the world? It's my own worldview. Why don't I work with somebody who's been there, done that, been successful, work with a group of people who are smart, driven, and who knows, maybe my worldview would change. It would influence me in ways I could never imagine. And that's when I started looking for a job. And I think 7 months later, I was able to get into Swiggy. And I got into a team called Swiggy Labs, where we used to do some very out-of-the-box kind of experimentation for Swiggy. This was at a time where Swiggy raised a lot of money. There was a lot of exuberance in the startup ecosystem.
So you were the mad scientist at Swiggy?
One of them, yeah. And working for another mad scientist who would then report to the founder. So, yeah, that was an amazing experience. I learned a lot over there.
Yeah. What anything interesting?
Yeah, so I think Swiggy is the land of experimentation. If you hear the Swiggy founder Harsha speak even today, he prides themselves on tinkering a lot. And I think when you want to experiment, you can't do it. Sure, maybe sporadically will happen, but you need to have a structure to your experimentation. How much do you allocate as a budget? How much do you allocate as a team? What is an experiment that you can see coming to fruition that would aid your business? What is a waste of time experimentation? So, and then if an experiment works, how do you move it along to scale it up? So I think that thinking really helped, and that's what Swiggy Labs would do. So Swiggy Labs was a 40-member team. When we moved to a new office, we were cordoned off. We had a separate space on the 3rd floor in a 5-story office, and nobody else was allowed to come in, because the thinking was that we shouldn't intervene with the daily comings and goings of the business, because it will taint our understanding of what we should experiment on. And we weren't really thinking of profit and loss or unit economics or whatever it was. We were just trying to understand what would work for Swiggy 3 to 5 years down the line.
Fabulous. Must have been fun.
It was. We worked on some very out-of-the-box experiments, nothing that the world has ever seen, but it was fun.
Fantastic. And then you moved on, I think?
So after that, there was sort of a restructuring, and then I was given the opportunity to run something from 1 to 100. So Swiggy Labs is 0 to 1. That's the way we would look at a new idea. And then when something was sort of already brewing and we wanted to scale it up, we would say 1 to 100 or 1 to n or 10 to n or whatever it was called. So this was something called Swiggy Gourmet. And the idea of Swiggy Gourmet was to launch a unifying brand where we showcase premium restaurants on the app. And the reason that we want to do that is because the average order value on Swiggy was say X. We were trying to enhance that by say Y%. And the reason that the way we would do that is if we get a certain higher order values from a certain share of the audience, and that was Swiggy Gourmet.
I love the fact that you headed Swiggy Gourmet. As you know, I'm a big foodie.
Yeah.
And I kept giving you feedback.
Yeah, you did. I remember that. And you sent me feedback saying, how is Idli Gourmet?
It is true. How is Idli Gourmet?
I don't understand. No, but we do make errors sometimes, maybe in some tagging error. But yeah.
But that was my favorite product. I was so crushed with this shut.
No, it's still there.
I know, but it's no longer there in the
the interface and the entry points have changed, but it's still there.
Wait, what is Idli Gourmet? I'm actually a little confused.
Idli Gourmet sounds fun, but so what happened was he was on a restaurant menu, and so I think it was tagged as a gourmet restaurant, and then he sent it to me, and he's like, "How is this restaurant gourmet, and how is Idli Gourmet?"
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, makes sense. I would be confused too.
Yeah.
You would expect sushi, not idli.
Yeah, sushi, exactly.
Not really.
Fair enough. I don't want to be cancelled.
No, idli is gourmet in a whole different way. I consider home food gourmet, yeah. But the experience we were trying to offer was an error.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Fabulous. So you moved on from Swiggy Gourmet after that. I think after you built the product, you went from entrepreneur to employee to intrapreneur.
Yeah, that's right. So it was Swiggy had something called Swiggy Premium in a few cities. It had Scootsy in Bombay, and they acquired Scootsy. And this is the reason they acquired Scootsy, because they wanted to understand how to. They really cracked the premium model in Bombay. So they wanted to take that model across the country, at least to the top cities. So we launched it as an experiment in Bangalore because this was our base, and we had most of the restaurant supply already in place. Ran that as an experiment, and our goal was to figure out and see if we added an entry point on the app, and if we gave people a curated list of restaurants, would you then get more order share from that? So that worked. And then we got some feedback from the users, and then we scaled it up across different cities in India, 15 different cities in India.
Fabulous. And then you moved on from
And then I moved on from Swiggy, yeah.
Okay, to another startup.
Which is called QMath. I was there for less than a year, and it was interesting because the Swiggy CEO at the time, Vivek Sundar, had also left, and he joined QMath a year before I did. And I figured, somebody like, I didn't know him personally at that point, but I figured somebody like him, if he's taken this move, it's a calculated move. And QMath was interesting because it's an edtech company. I hadn't worked with edtech before.
It was also a product role.
It was a product role, yeah. Pure play product role in the tech team. And I reported to the chief product officer. And they were also doing some exciting things. They had just raised some amount of money on account of a new business model, and because Vivek was there. And they were now trying to figure out something to do with a B2B play in the US. So I was brought in to create an entire B2B product for US schools.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, that had a lot of promise. But then
things didn't work out.
Yeah, there were a fair share of issues, and 9 months later, I decided to move on.
Fantastic. And then comes to your second leap to launch, which was Topee.
Okay, so I can see there are too many leaps, but
that's all I do. That's all I've been doing.
Yeah, but that's pretty crazy, because I think I just heard one of the craziest stories of entrepreneurship right now. But what made you take this other crazy, wild leap of Topee?
So as I was saying, Siddharth, earlier, that I didn't give up. I just took a break. I wanted to learn something new, and in my mind, I was thinking of starting up at some point. I don't think there was a day that went by where I didn't think of starting up once again. I just didn't know when I was going to do it. And I think I also realized that, working in a job is a very different ball game as compared to working on your own company. And I realized that maybe I've done that long enough now, and it's time I start something. And I think there's a very interesting dialogue I saw in a movie which said, you got to jump at the exact time you feel scared to jump. Otherwise, you'd never do it.
Oh, what movie was this?
I don't remember. But it was a very interesting dialogue, and it made me think. And I was like, yes, I am scared to jump because I have the comfort of a paycheck. I like the life that I didn't have a responsibility of managing people, managing a business. As a CEO or somebody who runs a business, you are privy to all the smallest to the biggest to the dirtiest problems of the company. So these were the thoughts I had, that maybe I have a paycheck, I have a relaxed life. Should I really do it? But then there was this nagging feeling in me that I really wanted to do something worthwhile, and now is the time. I'm still young. If I don't do it now, I couldn't see myself doing it 4-5 years later. So I just said maybe I should start up.
And Topee itself is a niche, right?
It is.
So how did you find this niche? Any role models, inspirations you just came across in a magazine or something?
No, I think role models. I do have a lot of role models, and there was this thing happened where Mithun actually sold his stake in Carrot Lane, and he sold it to Titan, and I think it was the biggest amount of money a founder has ever made profitably. He's sort of built the business in a very different way.
A founder's made, or the founder made with the business surviving, or the founder made without the business surviving?
No, business surviving, flourishing.
Fantastic.
So
just wanted to clarify, because there's a lot of the other ones going on where the founders made a ton of money and business hasn't survived.
No, his business is actually very, very successful, and I think he's left it in good hands. And that's a very rare story in today's scenario, and that's what inspired me. And I looked at the way he's built his business and his company. Even that's a niche. When he started, there was nobody really thinking about selling jewelry online, because they were such high value products. And the way he's built that business into an omni-channel business is something that inspired me to think of doing something as a niche in an underrepresented industry, and maybe sell it the right way, and you'll find your audience, and you'll probably expand the market with you.
Okay, so in 2015, e-com websites, it must all be not as developed as right now.
Yeah,
so what did you build your website on?
That's a very good question. So we made the mistake of building a custom website first, because our thinking was build a better website, get more users, get more money. And that was so wrong, because we actually spent a decent amount of time, effort, money into thinking about, we shouldn't have blue as a button, we should have this color as a button, and the add to cart button should be here and the line should be there. And we kind of spent a lot of time and effort into building the perfect website. And we also had a few features which I realized were overkill after we launched. But then that was a very, very strong learning, that a snazzier website does not mean better users, does not mean more users, does not mean more revenue. And 3 years or 2 years after running that website, we had a few issues because the team got busy with something else. I sat on a weekend during Diwali in October 2016, I think, and I moved the entire website to Shopify by myself. And that was much better for us.
It makes a lot of sense, to be very honest, because Shopify is the easiest for at least e-com, I would say.
It is. I think Shopify would work for somebody who reaches a revenue of even, a crore or two a month. And now Shopify has Shopify Gold. There's also something called Shopify Headless. Shopify is just amazing. There are some really, really big, like Raymond still uses Shopify, and they're on Shopify Gold. So I don't see any reason why, and especially somebody who's starting a new business, if it's e-commerce, Shopify is your friend. If it's non-e-commerce, you can just use Wix. Literally, like the one mistake that I've made, and I see a lot of people making, is just GTM your first version as soon as you can.
Go as quickly as possible.
Yeah, get that feedback, get that product in your users' hands, get them to speak to you, understand how you can shape up your business, and then worry about your website next.
Right. Do you subscribe to a lot of what Peter Thiel says in 0 to 1, minimal viable product?
Oh yeah. We did a lot of that at Swiggy. Absolutely.
Does that make sense? Does it?
It absolutely does. So what happens also is there's a flip side to MVP thinking, right? Which is build a really shitty product and call it an MVP. But then what happens in today's world is people are used to a certain amount of aesthetics, because it's so easy to create an out-of-the-box product that looks good today because of default themes from Wix and Shopify and all that. So obviously you need to have certain amount of thresholds and guardrails as to what are you calling an MVP product. And if it meets those guardrails where you feel like, okay, I can actually give it to a customer, they will like it, they will be forgiving of a few mistakes, then it's good.
So setting that threshold, is it an art or a science?
It's an art. MVP is an art. The entire, I think 0 to 1, the entire running a business is an art.
That's insane. Because, tech is all about numbers, data.
Oh yeah, that of course, there is that side as well. Yeah, 100%. Because there are times where Even in QMath or in Swiggy, we would try and be artistic about our decisions, but then obviously you have to look at the numbers. But that's when you reach a certain scale, and let's say you're trying to optimize your funnel a little better. When you're starting out, you have nothing, so you can paint the picture however you want. So it just needs to be at a minimum threshold that looks good, feels good, works the way it's supposed to. Get out there, get your customers to speak to you.
Crazy. So I just want to know, like, usually people say the third time is the charm, and this is your third leap, according to what I'm counting. And I just want to know, was it even scary the third time you did it?
Oh yeah, I'm still scared. I still don't know where this is going to go. It's only been 5 months now since I've started up the place. While I'm seeing positive signs, I have no idea how the business is going to shape up, because, like I said, when your industry is underrepresented, you have only the current data to fall back on. So I'm looking at mediocrity, and I'm seeing the result of that mediocrity, because that's how people run the business. While you have a certain amount of excellence in you to run the business differently, there's no guarantee that it would work for various reasons. Maybe the market's not ready, maybe the product is too niche, maybe the number of people who would want it is less. I don't know. I'm just going with the flow at this point.
So how do you navigate it on a daily basis?
I think you need to look at a few important metrics. First of all, you need to understand what is it that you're working for. What is your ulterior goal? So right now for me, I know that now that I've set up a place, I just have to get customers to the door. If I get customers to the door, there's a chance that I can sell to them. So I'm looking at that conversion rate, right? That's number one. That's a short-term thinking. But if I look at I also have to connect that short-term to a long-term goal, right? So my long-term goal, as I said, is to set up a brand in this space and set up this product and sell it the right way. So if I'm able to convince customers to buy today, that's also feeding my long-term goal of getting more customers, expanding the market, creating a brand image in their mind. So that's one thing I look at. And also because right now I'm bootstrapped, I have to understand my capital efficiency, cash flows. If you don't look at that, you're going to blow up. And that's a mistake we made in my first startup, where we never understood cash flow statements and numbers and everything.
You actually told that there are many uncertainties within this particular field, right? Any particular challenges or unsure scenarios that have come up? And, I just want to know how you've handled those scenarios.
And with that, we wrap up our first episode with Kailash, the founder of Topee. Catch us in the next part with Kailash to know more about how he overcame challenges, including mental health, as an entrepreneur. See ya!